Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Toyota Highlander, we're going to be showing you how to install the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this is going to work for you. I do want to address one of the big questions we get asked quite a bit, and that's if the trailer hitch is going to interfere with your hands-free liftgate assist feature. And the answer is no, it's still going to work. Really, all you're going to have to do is kick your foot to either side of it. And it might take a little bit of practice to kind of find that sweet spot, but once you do, it will operate. Unfortunately today, our model does not come equipped with that feature, so I can't show you. But I do know from past experience and dealing with some of these vehicles that you can still use it. Like I said, kick your foot to either side and everything will open up. When it comes to the Toyota Highlander, people use these to do a lot of different things. They're really capable SUVs. And, I see people pulling campers down the road, trailers, boats, you name it. See a lot of people using hitch-mounted accessories like a bike rack or a cargo carrier. So putting a hitch back here is really going to open up your opportunity and things you can do with your Highlander. That said, one of the things I like about this hitch is the way it's going to look. So for the most part, it's going to be completely hidden. Really, the only thing you're going to be able to see is the safety chain plates and the receiver tube opening. And honestly, compared to some of the other hitches, I'd say this one's probably my second favorite in terms of appearance goes. I like the etrailer.com one a little bit more. It has a matte black finish. It kind of matches the back bumper a little bit. But that's just my personal opinion. This one has a little more of a gloss or shiny type finish. So if this is something you're looking for, you at least got a couple different options to choose from. You can go with the matte black or the shiny one, whichever one you like best. One important thing is clearance when it comes to a hitch for the Highlander. And this one's going to be pretty good actually in terms of not only ground clearance, because it does sit up nice and tight against the bottom of our bumper, but also the bumper clearance. So what I mean by that is the end of the receiver tube opening here is going to come out just a smidge past our rear bumper. And that's going to provide us with that space that we need to use those folding type of accessories. So for example, maybe you're going to go out riding for the day and want to load up a couple bikes, or maybe you're taking the family on a trip and want to use a cargo carrier. So you're going to be able to put these in there, and then when you're done, fold them in that upright position and have the clearance that you need, so you're not going to have to worry about those making contact with the back of your Toyota. With this being a class 3 hitch, it is going to have that 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, and that is a very common size. A ton of different accessories will work with it. At the end of it there, it's going to be reinforced for a little bit of extra support, and it is going to use that standard 5/8 pin and clip. Now, keep in mind though, it doesn't come with a pin and clip. If you need one, not a huge deal. You can grab one here at eTrailer. The plate style safety chain openings are a little bit different. I'm actually a fan of them. I think they look good. They're going to be easy to get to, and they're going to provide us with enough space to use just about any size hook that we might have. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have some pretty good numbers. The maximum gross tongue weight rating is going to be 500 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch, so pretty high number. And you should be able to use just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you want to, for example. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 5,000 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch, so the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. I do always like to suggest, so it's never a bad idea just to grab your Highlander's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your SUV can pull that much weight safely. With that said, if you are going to be pulling a trailer, you want the lights to work. That way everyone around you knows what's going on. You'll be safe and legal. And to accomplish that, you can always check out some trailer wiring. While we're on weight capacities, I do want to mention, for those of you that plan on pulling a big camper or something like that, and you're really concerned with the weight capacity, you want to get the highest rated hitch. There's another CURT available that actually is rated for higher, has higher weight capacities, and it also allows you to use what's called the weight distribution system, which when you use it, it's going to really help keep your trailer and your Toyota nice and level whenever you're pulling it down the road. Seems to be really popular with people that pull those campers, so if that's your situation, maybe worth looking into. With that said though, that hitch I just mentioned, that is not going to fit the XSE submodels. So we have all these different types of submodels. If you have the XSE, unfortunately it does not fit. But with that said, kind of while we're talking about that, this hitch that we have here today, that's going to fit all the different submodels, including the XSE as well as even hybrids. For example, we have one on a hybrid here today. And really the only thing to look out for with this particular one is if you have a full-size spare tire. So if you look underneath there, underneath your vehicle and take a quick look at the spare, if the rim size is over 18 inches, then this one's not going to clear. You're going to have to move it, remove that spare tire. But chances are pretty good you'll be in pretty good shape. I've yet to come across a Highlander that has that full-size spare. So you know, my thought would be a lot of them on the road are not going to have it, but definitely worth taking a look at. You know, you don't want to order a hitch and you know, it show up and not fit. So spend an extra minute, take a quick peek under there. That way we can make sure you get what you need. Let's go ahead and just grab a couple of measurements. That way we can try to figure out which accessories are going to work best. So if you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be right at about 16.5 inches. So chances are pretty good if you're going to be pulling a trailer around town. You can use a ball mount that has a straight shank. If you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 1.5 inches. And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but you can use that measurement to figure out exactly if any of those folding accessories can be stored in that upright position without contacting your bumper. So at the end of the day, a nice hitch. You know, it's really just going to depend on what you're trying to do and what one you think looks the best. So as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. A couple small steps you need to do before getting the hitch up, but for the most part, more or less, you're just going to hold it up and bolt it in. So really shouldn't run into too many issues or give you a whole lot of trouble. So speaking of that, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be underneath the back of our Toyota. And first thing we need to do over here on the driver's side is remove this underbody panel. And so there's going to be a few different fasteners that we need to pull out. The first style will be like these, the push pin type. And to get these out, you can take a flathead screwdriver or even a trim panel tool if you got one. Pop the head of the fastener out and that'll let you remove it completely. And so we'll just kind of work our way around here. Looks like we'll have one more there. Get that one out. And then we're gonna have some screws as well. So one there, it's a 10 millimeter. And it looks like we're gonna have two here as well. Then what we can do, if we move up, kind of in this opening here by our spare tire, we're gonna have some more plastic nuts. And you can take a 12 millimeter, and a lot of times you can just do these by hand. And they're not actually gonna come off. A lot of times they'll stay with the panel, but if they're giving you any trouble, what you might have to do is kind of apply some downward pressure on it while you're unscrewing these. Get it free, and after we get this one, it should be the last one. If not a big deal, we'll find the other one. So, felt like it came free. And we can go ahead and just work this out and set it to the side for now. Now if you look on the bottom of our frame rail here, we're gonna have some plugs, and we need to pull those out. So you just take a screwdriver and get all these removed. And once we have them out, we're going to do the same thing over on the other side. So on the driver's side here, there's a total of 5 of them. On the passenger side, there will only be 4. Now if we move over here to the passenger side, if we look, we're going to have this little metal bracket, and we need to get that out of the way so the hitch will go up here without any issues. And there's 2 bolts. One of them will be a 10 millimeter. Remove that. And then we can switch over to a 17 millimeter socket and pull this one out. I can drop this bracket down and get it out of the way. So now we're going to have a tab here under our bumper, and we're going to have one on each side. So you're going to do this over on the other side as well. But you're going to pull out this fastener, pry that out, and then you're just going to kind of bend this tab down a little bit, and that'll give us some extra space, making it easier to get our hitch up into place. Now let's just go ahead and go over our attachment points and our hardware that we're going to use to secure the hitch. It's going to be the same setup on each side, and you're going to have a total of 3. So this weld nut, and this one. And even though they're covered, sometimes not a bad idea if you want to spray them down with some penetrating oil. Just use a brush like this and clean out the threads. That way if there's any junk in there, it won't interfere with our bolts. And the hardware combination that you're going to use is just going to be a bolt. You're going to put on a conical tooth washer. Make sure that the teeth on the washer are going to face up towards the hitch. And so when we're holding our hitch up here, you're just going to take these, and these are simply just going to thread into those factory weld nuts. Now with the next set of hands, we can take our hitch and raise it into position. You want to make sure to go up and over that tailpipe and kind of have to finesse it in there behind that flap. It's a little tricky, but take your time and get it up and over it, just like that. And once we have that done, we can then push our hitch flat against the frame. And we want to take our hardware. We want to get at least 1 bolt started on each side, hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on the rest of the hardware. And once we get all of our hardware in place and hand tight, we will come back with a 19 millimeter and snug everything down. Once everything's tight, we need to make sure and come back with a torque wrench and torque all the hardware down to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times go to your local auto parts store and they'll have one there available to rent. With the hitch up in place, now we can take these flaps and get them resecured. Now we can trim out our underbody panel. You can also just leave this off if you want. It's not going to hurt anything, but we're going to trim ours. There's a diagram and the instructions, kind of gives you an idea where to cut. And I also like to kind of just hold it up there roughly in place. Gives you a better idea. So I marked out the spots that we need to cut. I'm going to use a Dremel tool to do this. You could probably use a pretty heavy duty pair of snips or jigsaw, something along those lines, but go ahead and get all this cut out of here. With the panel trimmed out, now we'll go ahead and work it back into place and get it re-secured the opposite way that we removed it. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2022 Toyota Highlander.